everyone. Welcome to Contact Lost, the English-speaking podcast about the Polish Warhammer 40k community. With me today is my co-host Joker. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
I forgot to mention that I'm Tweak, otherwise known as Tomek. And today with us we have a special guest, someone that you should probably already know because we had him on the podcast a couple times. One of the best players on the Polish scene and in the Polish community. Please welcome Vladdi.
Hi guys.
Hi, good to have you. But before we get to the topic of today's episode, we have a very, very interesting piece of news for you. This coming weekend, the Polish Warhammer 40k community is launching its biggest annual team event, the Polish Team Championship, or as we call it in Polish, the DMP. This year, it will take place in Kozłów, in the south of Poland, and it will be a 5-round 2-day event. And we've compiled some numbers for you in anticipation of that event. So what you need to know is that the registration is already closed, but there are 23 teams of 5 players registered, and you'll find the list sent in by those teams down in the description below. When we analyzed those lists, we found that, unsurprisingly, Space Marines are still the most frequent faction at the event, with 15 players running Astartes of various flavors. Among them, you'll see 6 lists of Dark Angels, followed by 3 Blood Angels lists, and a single list of, respectively, Black Templars, Death Watch, Iron Hands with a very interesting Dreadnought list, 1 list of Space Wolves, 1 list of Ultramarines and Raven Guard mixture, and 1 list of White Scars. The next most represented faction would be the Necrons, with 12 lists, followed closely by the Silver Boys Grey Knights, and the mighty Drukhari, with 11 lists for both of those factions. Right on their heels, we have Admech, with 10 lists, 9 of which sport, yeah, you guessed it, Lucius and Mars, but there is one very interesting list that focuses solely on Ryza. So I'm very interested to see how they fare in the event. The Orks are also up there with a good showing of 9 lists. There are 7 Death Guard lists, and I think 5 of each of the following. So Sisters, Thousand Sons, Custodes in different mixtures as well, mixed with Sisters, mixed with Knights. 5 Eldari lists, also in different shapes and forms, so with Harlequins, with Drukhari, etc. 4 Tempestus lists, alone or in mixtures. Some Demons lists, Tyranids, 2 lists of CSM, a single list of Guard, and a single list of Tau. So stay tuned for the next week's episode because we are going to discuss the event in detail. We are going to analyze the winning lists or even the top 3 teams that were at the event. We're going to bring in guests. Hopefully, Tyfus can join us, who's the Polish referee to the WTC and the very skilled Harlequin player who is also playing at the event. And of course, my dear co-host Joker is also at the event playing his Thousand Sons list. So there is a lot of stuff to discuss. There will be a lot of stuff to discuss, and we cannot wait to talk about it. So tune in, stay with us, like and subscribe, and hit that notification button to know where this episode drops. So listen, guys, in the previous episode, I mentioned that I am organizing, or we are organizing a competition in which I am looking for a new army. And I'm looking for suggestions on which army to pick. In the last episode, I named 5 armies that I'm eyeing at the moment, and those were Wolves, Guard, Tyranids, mixed with Genestealer Cults, White Scars, and Demons. And the principles of the competition are fairly simple. You need to comment under the video and subscribe to our channel. Comment on YouTube, comment on Reddit, any constructive comment that has some valuable information on why I should pick this or that army. It can be a different army. It doesn't have to be from those 5. Those 5 are the focus on our podcast, but it could be something else. If you leave a constructive comment, then you automatically are included in the pool. And at the end of those 5 episodes, I'll organize some sort of a lottery or raffle or whatever you want to call it. And the prize wasn't announced in the previous episode, so I'll link it in the description of this video as well. So it's a wonderful, nicely painted miniature of a chaplain with claws. So if you want to win that, and it doesn't matter where you are, just leave a comment, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and you might actually win that wonderful miniature. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm looking forward to your comments. And today we'll use the wisdom of Vladdi to discuss one of the 5. And having in my memories the extreme ass whooping that I received from Vladdi when he was using his Genestealer Cults army, but I also know he has some experience with the Tyranids army. We've decided that he will be our expert to talk about this army. So I think without further ado, we can jump into this discussion on whether this army is good or bad. So yeah, before we do that, Vladdi, how have you been? We haven't spoken for a year almost, I think, because I gave up Warhammer for a while. I think it was like in November last year. What have you been doing? What armies have you been playing? Are you still playing Genestealer Cults right now, or have you moved to something else? What's going on?
Well, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. I actually played like first games live in Warhammer 40k in more than a year. Last week or 2 weeks ago on Free City Heresy, and it was my first games in a year.
Really?
Live. But I'll play like hundreds of games because I discovered TTS and quickly jumped onto it as it gives you the opportunity to test a lot of stuff, actually everything you can, everything you wish, any list you wished you ever had, you can just put it on the screen of your computer and find a guy to play, to test against, and have a go. It's a beautiful thing, and I know there are a lot of players who don't like TTS for various of reasons, and I understand all of them. But as a tool to improve your skills, as a tool to check if you want to go into some army or some specific units, is a perfect tool for that. And I've been playing 40k more. I played more 40k in this year than I have ever before.
Wow. So what have you been experimenting with?
Well, a lot of stuff. I started with, I actually built like 10 armies that I actually possess on TTS. And I've been trying them all. I tried Orks, I tried Nids, I tried Genestealer Cults, and everything else, Harlequins, Eldor, and nowadays I sat on our Renegade Knights and Imperial Children, Chaos Space Marine. It's the list that I actually figured out on TTS, developed on TTS, tested on TTS, played on TTS, and only recently transformed from TTS to reality. I bought the Knights. I never had Knights before. I bought a lot of stuff actually. I bought Talons. Unfortunately, the Talons boxes have all the stuff you need to build Raptors. So I built a lot of Raptors, a lot of Talons. So I actually built an army from scratch, just to transform me from what I played on TTS to live. So that's what I'm doing now. But I'm now that I'm sure it's working also on live tournaments. then I'm thinking about some other things. I'm thinking about white scarves. So maybe at the end, if you want me to convince you to start collecting white scarves, I can do it very quickly.
Okay, all right. Sounds promising. Sounds like another episode. So that would be cool. So, with your just before we jump into the Tyranid and Gene Stealers, I heard on the grapevine that you are going to the Polish team championships that are going to take place, I think, somewhere around a week from now.
Next
Um,
week, yeah.
yeah.
Next weekend, to be
Will
exact.
Yeah.
will that Chaos Army see the table, or will the table see that army during?
Yeah. I'm actually
Okay.
prepared. Already sent pictures because I have a lot of things converted. I already sent pictures to the referees, and I get thumbs up for everything. So I'm ready to go. Actually, this is first time in a long time that I don't have any, don't need to prepare anything else. I'll have already everything painted. About everything tabletop ready, so yeah, I'm ready to go with the list. It's simple that I wanted to test this army in real life competitively, and one big tournament, and it wasn't that big, simply not enough, obviously. So I have a plan to play this Rick's Imperial Children list till the end of the year, because there are rumors that at December there's gonna be Genestealers or maybe Tyranids Codex, and then I'm gonna switch to it. That's the
Okay.
plan.
Let's leave the gossip for later, because from what I know, Joker has a question around that. Anyway, I think we'll move to the topic of Tyranids and Genestealer Cults.
Yep.
So, as I mentioned in the introduction, I remember that that mixture to me was or meant horrible ass kicking. I played you, I played Ketchup, the guy from the north of Poland, who lives nearby, and I was never able to beat either your or his list. So I have only horrible memories of that. So, but that was at the end of eighth and at the beginning of ninth. Um, Back then, the army felt pretty decent. Is it still decent, or does it need help?
Oh geez, it's not decent at all. It's trash. At least if we're talking about Genestealer Cults, it's complete trash. Needs a, well, let's say, a bit better, but they're not good at all. There's a lot of problems with Genestealer Cults. The main problem is that the army, to be properly working, not working at the top of its performance, just working, needed like 18 CPs per game. Now you are restricted to like 9, 8, because you need to spend something before the game for detachments. So you are constricted to 9%. It can never work, because you have a army that appears from ambush and do some stuff from ambush. Yeah, if you would just go toe to toe by deploying on the field, you'll be even more heavily maimed. So you use some tricks to deploy from the reserves. The problem is the stratagem that allows you to, for example, charge relatively often successfully from the reserves costs you 3 CPs. The same stratagems in any other army costs 1 CP, and the other stratagem that allows you to deploy in 3 inches from the opponent to do some damage costs you 2 CPs. So basically, you are restricted to a single turn of that kind of shenanigans, and after that, you are a very slow-moving, very fragile army. And you cannot. That's the first point. You have no CPs to prolong the fight with Genestealer Cults. You have CPs for 1 turn, and that's it. And then you're dead. And that's the first problem. The second problem is that because the army was overperforming in the end of the edition. And it was subject to a lot of point raises. The aberrants, because of that, the base hitting power of the army are now terribly overpriced compared to other units, top hitters in the other armies. They are terribly overpriced, and to make them worth their points on the tabletop, it's very difficult. The same goes for example, hybrids. They're also very overpriced. So a lot of stuff got nerfed. For example, demolition charges jumped in points terribly, and deploying them is simply pointless now, because there are these are 6 inches range, one-shot battle cannons, and they are at the cost of a battle cannon. So it's idiotic. Come on. So Genestealer Cults simply doesn't work now. There's only one good thing about Genestealer Cults. It's markers. It's ambush markers that allows you, if you want to combine them with Nids, with Tyranids, to push back any alpha strikers, enemy alpha strikers. So when I played TTS for last year, I played a lot of Genestealer Cults versions, and a bit of Nids, a bit of Genestealer Cults, and a lot of also of combination of those lists. And the main goal for using Genestealer Cults in Nids list is those markers. There is no Raven Guard is going to alpha strike you to death in the first turn if you have Nids on the table. If you have Genestealer Cults in the table, the rule that forbids any movement within 9 inches from the markers is a golden rule for if you want to defend against that kind of armies. So basically, this is the only bright side of it. Everything else is trash.
Okay, so you're making it sound very much like the army is a complete underdog right now. Which
don't take my word for it. Just look at the statistics. It's always performing the worst on every single tournament, and on every single statistic. It's the worst from every point of view. The every statistic, it's the worst army we have now in the game.
But are you talking about pure Genestealer Cults, or
I'm talking about pure Genestealer Cults. The mix are a bit better because Nids are a bit better. The reason for that is mobility on OPSEC units is simply a good thing in this edition, and Nids have the absolute. There's nothing faster in this game, almost nothing. At least no OPSEC is faster in this game than the things that Nids can do, because with Kraken, Genestealer is being pushed by Swarm Lord. This unit, this combination is fast, and it has OPSEC. So there are some things you can do with it, but still, the hitting power of Genestealers and the cost of Swarm Lord and the pivotal role of this model on the table is obviously a downside. If the swarmers go down, the army gets much slower, and then Genestealers are simply easy to kill. They have 1 wound, 5+ save, 5+ invulnerable save, but that doesn't help them much. A simple bomber from Admech kills a lot of them. First with bombs, then with small shooting. They die very quickly, and they need help, because now at this point, even though this army is very mobile, very fast, I played a pure Nids with very specific build based about Reveners from custom highflates that gave them -2 ammo penetration combat. So they had a lot of attacks with -2, and they were very fast. They moved 20, 4 plus 6 plus d6 inches every turn. So it was a very fast army. There are some tactical options. They have some reasonable stratagems, some reasonable psychic powers. But when you look at the data sheets, it's nowhere close to the new codexes. Simply nowhere close. This gap between what is on the Tyranids datasheets and what is in the new codexes is so huge that no amount of rules and no amount of mobility can help the Nids.
Okay, so again, not to make it so doom and gloom, because as I said, so far you're making it sound like a very, 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 very big underdog.
Yeah, we've covered the weakest spots, I think.
Yeah, we can leave the weakest spots now. But is there anything that you consider an asset in this army? Like again, when we played last year, or when I played catch up last year, he had a nice composition of tyrants, hive guards. I think he had exocrines. He was using a Malanthrope or other Forge World units, so he was giving like -1 to hit, which was really annoying at times. I remember the spells were a pain in the ass as well.
Yeah.
Because,
Okay.
yeah,
Just to sum it up, just to continue with doom and gloom. The list that you're saying, Ketchup actually took to the heresy this week or 2 weeks ago, and he in the first game he met the face the Death Guard with Mortarion, and Mortarion killed all the Nids, every single one. So and the whole army shot at the Mortarion in the one turn, and didn't even drop it before under the half of the wounds. So you ask a question. The answer is the whole Tyranid army, based basically solely on shooting, was unable to make a dent in Mortarion. So
ouch.
Then this gives you it shows you that going for killy Tyranid list is simply not the way to go. The only way to play this list now, to play the army now, is the careful and smart shenanigans on movement. Needs have a lot of those. They have double moving from Swarmlord, after which you can actually do anything except shooting, so you can charge. They have another movement phase. In the movement phase, you can move twice with Nids from the stratagem. You can also, if you kill something in combat, you can move again instead of consolidating. If you can smartly combine these two rules, then you can keep toe-to-toe with most of the top armies, only on playing on objectives. You have a lot of infantry, you have a beautiful stratagem that, as I said, allows you to move another time in movement phase. So you can use, for example, a 6 pre-model unit of Raveners to move another time in movement phase, and, for example, make any action at the end of the movement phase. So the Raveners can move 24 inches and make a action. So in this, if you have 3 units like that, and you are able to survive to 4th turn, you will do Octarius data, full Octarius data every time. It's an example.
Right. So maybe
so instead of getting killy, you need to concentrate on making points. And if you are able to do that, you can be okay. You can be okay. You can play against top armies, maybe not with hope of killing them or winning big, but with hope of holding your ground. And actually, I have a Tyranid Genestealer Cults list that I figured out after all the TTS tests. I came up with the list that can do some stuff now in this edition. It consists of 16-man squads of Neophyte hybrids with Working Horizon and Seasoned Enforcers, make it the units are able to reroll hits from mining lasers and have no penalties for moving and shooting heavy weapons. So this is a fire support and full opposite 16 models with OPSEC on the backfield. And you push your opponent with Swarm Lord and Genestealer Cults that got some point drops and some time ago. So the army bases around fast-moving infantry from Nids, ambush markers that stop enemy alpha strikers, and some let's say not too good but reasonable shooting from Neophyte hybrids with mining lasers. And I played some games with it, with some addition of small units of Aberrants, and it works quite well. But if you are faced with Admech or Drakhari or some other top armies, your models end up quicker than you are able to score objectives. That's the problem. But this is a decent build, and you can do stuff with it.
Okay, all right. So there is hope. Sounds good. So it doesn't sound so so bad when you put it like this. What would you say as you know, a seasoned player who knows the army through and through, both armies actually, Tyranids and Genestealer Cults? Let's say that you could influence the writing team and you know, let them know that the army needs this, 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 and this. What would you say would make this army tick?
Which one?
But yeah, let's start with Tyranids. What are they missing exactly, or you know, to fit the meta to be able to stand their ground against
the
Drukhari?
basic two things as because I wouldn't change the rules maybe slightly, because some rules are very clearly worse than there are for the other armies, like Kronos army trait gives you real ones to hit, but only if it doesn't move. The same goes for this weapon beasts of Tyranids, like Exocrine and the other guy. They also have double shooting if they don't move. But in other armies, you have double shooting on some, let's say, weapon beast variants. If you move up to the half of your movement. So this is an example how the Tyranids rules are inferior now, even to standard rules, not the best rules, but they are inferior to standard rules of other codexes, and they need to get up to speed with that. But so basically the data sheets must improve. There are a lot of things, small things that must be done here. The obvious choice for me is to give Genestealers another wound, things like that. So basically, the small, or maybe not even small, but reasonable power creep on datasheets is the first thing, because this is the thing that Tyranids struggle the most. And but another thing is, as I said, basic at least give the Nids similar rules that other armies have, as I said, with that weapon beast as an example. That should do the trick for the Nids, at least, because and the other thing is there are a lot of models in Nizzle army that are useless. So terribly useless. There are memes about it, like Pyrovore, or most of the monsters like Haruspex, Toxicrine, things that many people never heard about, because, well, they are so useless you don't hear about them at all. And they need to make those data sheets up to speed with this edition, with the power creep of this edition, with the power creep of current codexes. This is basically, I think, the only thing that this codex needs, because The rules are good, the stratagems are good, powers are good, but as I said, the basic power of models are simply very, very weak. For example, the Hive Tyrant model for more than 200 points have like top 5 attacks and no rerolls, except you can give them some expensive weapon options to give them reroll ones to hit. But basically they have 5 attacks and that's it. Model that is worth more than 200 points has the ability to fight 5 guardsmen in close combat and nothing else. So this is basically data sheets need to prove that all the other rules of the army are good. The more difficult thing is about Genestealer Cults, because there are a lot of things to do there. Honestly, it's a thing that you have to think through how to make this army work, because it's a glass hammer. It cannot take any punishment. It's a slow army. It's based on slow moving infantry. It's an army that is supposed to work from reserves. So you need to take that into consideration. And with smaller tables and a lot of units that can deploy forward in the first turn, the first 2 turns, using reserves is more and more difficult in this edition. So you need to take that into account. Moreover, as I said, they have the same problem with, as Tyranids have their datasheets are terribly outdated, and the point cost of the units is those units are terribly overpriced. All that needs to change to make this army valid. They need to give them some way of mobility shenanigans, some redeployments, cheap redeployments, cheap in CPs, I mean, or some rules that gives them ability to redeploy fast during the game. And basically, I think the problem with both Tyranids and Genestealer Cults is that they don't have this overlapping rules. Every new codex and some 8th edition codexes had some layers of overlapping rules, like canticles, like rites of battle, like tides, like contagions, things like that. Tyranids and Genestealer Cults doesn't have any of those. Moreover, for Genestealer Cults, army traits work only on infantry and bikers. So no vehicles in Genestealer Cult armies. Same goes for House Space Marines. Those vehicles do not get any army traits. That, though, the lack of overlapping secondary rules for whole armies, and the lack of being able to use army traits on vehicles sets the Genestealer Cults apart from all other things I said, apart from top codexes, and this gap needs to be fixed.
Yeah, but those last 2 things are the ones that are probably going to be fixed, because with the trend we've seen so far is with 9th edition codexes is that they do get these things fixed, and hopefully Chaos Space Marines will also one day receive that treatment, and not only having infantry bikers benefiting from the army traits.
Well, you are a very hopeful man, because I'm not sure how this is Thousand Sun, but if I'm getting you right, those vehicles in Thousand Sun doesn't get any rules from Thousand Sun's army traits.
Yeah, that's true. It's only for psychers, pretty much.
So maybe the better example would be Death Guard. And actually, the vehicles in Death Guard do get some of the armor traits, because the basic contagion works also on vehicles. So maybe it is a trend. Maybe they will get some army traits. We'll see. It would be nice. It would be nice, because I think Genestealer Cults and House Space Marines are the only 2 armies that that have this rule that army trade doesn't apply to the heals.
Do you know if I mean, because I haven't heard any rumors about either Tyranids or GSC. Do you know if they're planning like a bundled box with another army, or is it just going to be a codex?
Well, I have no idea, as no one has, but the Games Workshop published, I think, the information on the Warhammer community that there are gonna be 2 codexes unknown yet at the end of the year in December. They're gonna be published in 1 box, from what I understand. The same way the Grey Knights and Thousand Suns were published now. So it's gonna be codex and some army set. And there are supposed to be 2 codexes, and they're probably gonna be centered around this new war zone. I don't know what its name is. So it's Haradon was now, so it's Octarius war zone. I don't know, some kind
Octarius.
of some kind of war zone. And in the information about this campaign, there were 3 armies. There were Imperial Guard, Astra Militarum. There were Genestealer Cults, or Tyranids, and Death Watch for sure. Maybe something else.
And so Orks were there definitely, but we've already got Orks. So
they did. So yeah, Death Watch and Orks. And since Death Watch already has a codex, and Orks already has a codex, and they said it's gonna be 1 Imperial army and 1 Xeno army. That's definitely what they said. So the obvious guess is that it's gonna be Nids and Astra Militarum. It would be nice, because those armies really need new codexes. Maybe Astra Militarum, maybe even more than Nids.
All right. So should anyone want tweak here? Should he want to start collecting right now? Any guesses what might be good? So probably something that isn't a standout already.
Well, obviously, if you want to collect Genestealer Cults on it, I would wait, because it's kind of obvious with the trends with new codexes that a lot of changes, and buying models to just put them on the shelf and leave them there is, I guess, not the point. So I would leave out Genestealer Cults and Tyranids for now. If you want to instantly start collecting something else, some new army, I mean, as I said at the start, if you want to collect something, I would suggest some. Well, that's not maybe original, because they are very popular around the world. I would suggest collecting some Space Marines, because, well, surprisingly, they're definitely not in the meta.
How is that even possible?
They are terribly struggling now. There are some good builds, some team builds, some single tournaments build, but they're terribly struggling, as Games Workshop is trying to do everything to make that second wound they gave them pointless, because everything now has huge AP and at least 2 damage. But if you if you want to play this army, I'm concentrating now on Space Wolves or White Scars. Those 2 armies can be built in such a way that concentrates not exactly around the killing power, though those 2 armies are very good at killing, unlike Nids. They are very good at killing, but if you really want to play smart as armies, you can create an army that is as the my Chaos army is concentrated around making objectives and stopping your opponent from making objectives. With fast moving jump infantry, not terribly that you don't invest a lot of points in. with some fast-moving units, with some good support units. You can do thing, and you can at the same time play the army that, at least in our community, is not that popular now, because, well, it struggles, as I said, against top armies like Drukhari or Admech and some other. If you compare a basic strike squadron from Grey Knights to almost any unit from Space Marine Codex, then you're gonna hit a wall. These strike squads from Grey Knight Codex are better at everything. They're psychers. They have some shooting. They have a very powerful close combat attacks. The comparison is, and basically a strike squadron with a power sword that have 2 damage, the 4 shots from the combi bolter, and stop from the stone bolter, and that is a psyker, costs the same points as intercessor. That does nothing at all. So it's not easy to play an army based on Space Marine Codex nowadays, but it can be very very gratifying. You can do an army, make an army that will concentrate about scoring objectives, deny the objectives from the opponent, and at the same time not be something that everyone plays now.
Okay, and I have a question that is out of curiosity, because I haven't seen, or I haven't really looked into it, but over the course of the year, a bunch of codices came out. I think Death Guard, among others, now Grey Knights, Adeptus Sororitas, whatever. Is GW keen on also releasing new models with those codices? So, like, did Grey Knights get any models that I should know of?
Yeah,
they got guy.
one guy, one model.
Ah, they haven't received anything in 8th, I think. So one model in 9th is,
well, the
surprising.
same goes for, it's kind of weird a bit, as like some codexes get a lot of touch, like someone really likes them, like Orks or Necrons. Necrons have shitty rolls, but they have models. They have models, god damn it. And they had an army of new models with new codex. And there are some codexes like Thousand Suns or Grey Knight that doesn't get anything new. Come on, they had some. The Thousand Suns get some infernal something. One guy, new caster, and Grey Knights
More
have
of a
actually.
chaplain.
And Grey Knights, I think, got actually no new units, but a new model for something, some character, something like that. So that's weird. That's weird. That's not what people expected. But on the other hand, if you are a 9000 sound player, or you are a Grey Knights player, dedicated one player or one of those 2 armies, you can't really complain. Because you didn't get any models. Shit, life was hard, but you get really powerful codexes. Those 2 codexes are good. They are in the meta. They can do anything about. They can do well against anything. If you'll be playing one of those codexes, you will not be sorry. Competitively speaking, they're on the level. They can make a good game against Admech. They can make a good game against Dark Eldar. They're okay. So I don't think that those the players of those 2 armies are very unhappy, even though they didn't get any new models. At least if you concentrated about competitive play, because if you are a collector, then you're fucked.
All right. Yeah, I was asking that question because I was wondering whether perhaps it's likely that Tyranids will get some new models, or maybe
Who knows? It's a complete roulette, man. No one knows. We'll see.
Okay, so nothing in the rumor engine that would hint towards something like that.
Yeah, there actually was a few months back, half a year back. There were last two models on Rumor Engine that were definitely needs, but nothing came out since then. There were actually like one or two models that were definitely Genestealer Cults, but not actually maybe something came out with Genestealer, but it was in Kill Team, I think. But no Tyrannid model came out, so maybe something is coming. We'll see.
Right.
Okay.
So you've actually given us additional insight into some other factions other than Tyranids and Genestealer Cults. So you've mentioned Wolves and White Scars, so also factions of Tweak's interest. So maybe you want to give a shot at Demons as well?
Demons?
Yep.
Well, with the addition of Be'lakor, the demons got some reinforcements in terms of rules. They're definitely better now. If you want to play Be'lakor army, the demons are definitely better. You can do that. The Banyak from Torun played the demon army on the heresy, and he did very well. Basically, the Keeper of Secrets are still very good. They are a very good unit. They are struggling about those very top armies like Admech. But if you compare, if you mix those keepers with some Be'lakor additions and Be'lakor himself, you can do really good. But if you're talking about balanced army that have all the units that are useful, then no, demons are suck at that. But there are some interesting choices that you can build your army around. There are on TTS tournaments. There were a lot of armies concentrated around horror blobs, with the ability to split, change some one horrors to the others. There were some interesting ideas about those units. Obviously, the Keeper of Secrets were all around the lists. So demons are quite okay now. They're not bad. They're not as bad as Needs, and definitely not as bad as Genestealer Cults. So you can do a lot of thing around them, and the addition of black or improved that you have more options. So they're not bad, but there are still a lot of units in the codex that are still useless, and because they have the same problem that Needs and Genestealer Cults have. They have outdated datasheets that they have no chance of getting toe to toe with current codexes, the units from current codexes. No way.
All right. I still will, stick to the concept that Tyranids are a potential army that could be strong in not too distant future. As you said, there might be a release. So
Well,
mhm.
you can. It's a safe bet that when codex come out, it's gonna be a decent army, because I think with the small exceptions of Orks, every single codex was more or less decent in this year. Of course, Admech has Simply Stupid, and Dark Eldar have some balance issues as well. But most codexes are well, you can play them good against any army. The problem works is that you can make a list that is terrible in case it's terribly good, but it's gonna be very one-sided. There are a lot of limitations on Orks, while Admech can do anything with anything, and if Admech have any limitation, that you can be sure they have some rule that takes away that limitation. The same goes for Drukhari. They have no limitations at all. They can do whatever they want and take whatever they want. They can transport whoever they want in any transport they want. So basically, those two armies have very little limitations. And unfortunately for Orks, it's the other way around. There are a lot of limitations there. You can do, if you do that, you can do that. If you do this, you can do something else,
So
and things
things
like that.
exclude each
So
other.
but still, if you take 9 Rakut tracks, quick buggies, then you're gonna be okay.
Okay.
competitively speaking.
And is there any place in the current meta for any Horde armies? So I was also thinking of, maybe Tyranids going as Horde armies, but with so many shooty opponents, it doesn't sound like a viable option.
Well, Admech is telling you that it's a valid option.
True.
It basically depends on the rules. Well, there are some armies that simply that have potential of being a good horde, but is not. There are not. The Orks are the simplest example of that. It was a very good horde army with the previous codex, with some rules that supported horde armies like mob rule and some other. And Games Workshop just dropped a hammer on that, and so with some rules changes, eliminated orc armies from the horizon for years to come. Without some, I don't know, some supplement reinforcement for horde orcs, there gonna be no horde orcs in a long time.
So don't Tyranids have a chance as a Horde? I mean, with their what is it?
The first thing that you need to have a working horde army is the immunity to morale, and actually Nids have that. It's like built in.
Yeah.
Hard. So the first thing is okay, but to actually work with horde armies, the other factors are these horde models must be reasonably cheap, and this is where things get difficult for Tyranids. And the other thing is those horde the models that consist of a horde must be able to do something, and this is the point where Nids struggle the most, because those horde units like Gauns and Homagauns are do shit now. They have AP nothing weapons, and when you have AP nothing weapons in this edition, then you do, well, nothing. And so for now, if, for example, uh, taking into consideration what happened to Orks, if, for example, Talons get some AP, then maybe needs gonna can become a valid horde army. But if, well, this year's codex has taught us anything, that then we can pretty much expect the morale rules for Nids to change. They're probably gonna lose this immunity to morale, considering that Orcs lost it as well. There's gonna be something else in place for that, but I think this complete immunity that they have now it's gonna be gone.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But
Yep.
yeah, I suspect as well it's really going to be gone. So I think the last faction we might want to ask about is Guard. You've mentioned them, that they're also in a very bad spot. So Tweak, excellent choice of factions.
Only choose the best ones.
Well,
always wanting to be the underdog. Yeah, sorry, Vladdy, go on.
No problem. The guard have some decent units even now, but though it struggles with the coasts, as all the other armies that I was talking about do. The problem with, for example, the popular some time ago tank commanders, they have a very decent damage output. It would be a very reasonable unit, if not for the fact that they are terribly overpriced. And in I have no idea what they're gonna do with the Astra Militarum, because at this point it's difficult for me to see how they can improve it. That's because there is a lot of D+D3 weapons in the game now, and a lot of 2+D6 weapons in the game now. So basically, those vehicles struggle terribly with all those shooting, and if they will not improve their survival, some will not give them new rules to survive all that firepower, then I can't see how this Militarum can improve. The obvious thing is would be to make a lot of point drops, big ones, and that would improve because, well, that's how quickly you die if there is a lot of vehicles on the table. But basically, I am very interested and very anxiously await what they're gonna do with Astra Militarum because they need to do a lot to make this army works.
Would it work as a Horde army?
Well, if, as I said, with Nids, if they give it some way to, from on the one side, be immune more or less to morale checks, and on the other side, on the other hand, to make those Horde units, then yes, they did that for Admech. They did that for Admech. They gave them additional stratagem to be immune from morale. They can autopass morale on objective. They gave it additional survivability from damage one weapons, basically from all weapons, because you can always fire up +1 save. And they gave it for the most important thing. They gave it a terrible damage output with the stratagems and overlapping, tens of overlapping rules like ignore that, ignore this, +1 this, +1 that, reroll this, reroll that. If the guard will be subjected to the same treatment, and you'll be able to field a blob of 30 guardsmen, and you'll be able to give them -1 on this lasguns, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, ignore this, ignore that, then obviously there's gonna be a valid Horde army. Now they're not, because they die like shit. They're not immune to anything, and with even with hundreds of shots from lasgun, they are unable to kill anything important. So
you're shattering my dreams, dude.
I'm sorry, it's the Joker that picked the worst for you to collect. So not my fault.
No, it was me. It was I actually chose those because I never played them. I played quite a lot of armies, but these are the ones left that
Basically, the best advice anyone can give you now, if you want to collect those armies that are not popular because they don't have codexes, is just start collecting as a well narrative player. Just collect what you like, buy some models, paint them, and wait for the codexes to come to actually expand your collection. I think that's the way to go. Just choose one thing that suits best in your eyes, and then wait for the codex, and then you'll be able to play competitively and not be trashed by any other army easily, because, well, the trend is that every new codex have some decent units, and you can make a competitive list out of it.
All right. And I think, I don't know if guys, if you agree with me, but I think this is a fantastic way to conclude the episode, because that was on a positive note. And I also think that, I don't know if anyone was able to hear that, but I think Vladdy's internet is slowly telling us to go away and leave him alone. So that's what we're, yeah, don't worry, don't worry, it happens. Oh yeah, we're getting the best example of that right now. So I think we can slowly move towards the end of the episode. Vladdy, I don't know if you can hear us or not, but
no, and I'm just trying to reconnect the microphone thing.
Right.
That's gonna help.
So
anyway, before it cuts me completely off, thank guys for this. Thanks, guys, for the opportunity to say a few words about my hobby. It was very fun. So if you need any help in the future, don't hesitate to contact me.
That's really cool, and it was really, really great to have you. It was a really valuable insight. Still, I haven't made my choice, and I'm far from making it. So, to all you folks that are listening, together with Joker, I think we are very keen to hear what you have to say. So please make sure that you leave those comments. Tell us if you agree with Vladdi, because that's just one of the opinions. And yours could differ. Maybe you have some amazing results with any of the armies that we've spoken about. So do let us know if that's the case. You can leave list suggestions, some builds that you've tried out, maybe on TTS or maybe on an actual table. We're very keen to hear that. And remember, there is a prize that you can get for being active either in the comment section or on Reddit, where this will also be posted. Polish players will have an advantage because I'm also going to post this on Gloria Victis, which is the Polish website, and you can comment over there as well. So anyone who posts will be included in the raffle.
As long as they subscribe to the channel.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So yeah, that's absolutely true. And then you can check the prize down in the comment section. Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. And in the next episode, we'll pick up another army to dissect. Thank you, Vladdi. Thank you, Joker.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.